Hello friends, hope you are doing great. Today we'll discuss about the anatomy of pterygopalatine fossa. It's a fossa which is in communication with the inferotemporal fossa, which we have discussed in the earlier video, and we'll discuss pterygopalatine fossa under following headings. First we'll see the definition, where it is located, what are its boundaries, contents, and to which structure it communicate, and coming to the contents in detail, that is pterygopalatine ganglion, maxillary artery, maxillary nerve, and applied aspects. It is an inverted teardrop shaped space or inverted pyramidal space between splanchno-cranium and viscerous cranium, and immediately behind the maxilla, and is very small in size. It is very difficult to dissect, very difficult to locate even in dry skulls. Here it is the pterygopalatine fossa, inverted L-shaped space, very small space with numerous communications there between facial, skeletal and neurocranium or splanchno-cranium and neurocranium. You can see it is inverted pyramid in shape. So coming to the boundaries, the anterior wall is formed by the posterior surface of the maxilla, whereas the medial wall is formed by the lateral surface of palatine bone forming the lateral wall of the nose, and posterior wall is formed by the root of the pterygoid plate from where medial and lateral pterygoid plate arises, and the roof is formed by greater wing of sphenoid. The floor is not there, it is formed by the converging anterior and posterior walls. So laterally it is communicating with the inferotemporal fossa via pterygomaxillary fissure, that you can see maxilla there, and this is greater wing of sphenoid, it is pterygoid plate. The arrow is showing the root of pterygoid plate there, and you can see there posterior wall is formed by the root of pterygoid plate. Anteriorly you have maxilla, where anterior and posterior wall converge like a V in the lower part. So floor is not appreciable there. You can see spinopalatine foramina in the medial wall formed by the perpendicular plate of palatine bone, which is forming the lateral of nose. So palatine bone separates the nasal cavity from this pterygopalatine fossa, and you can see the V-shaped the fissure there. You can see that is the pterygomaxillary fissure, the pterygopalatine fossa and the nasal cavity. So it's a tiny space between the inferotemporal fossa and nasal cavity. You can see there, that is the medial wall, this is the lateral wall, and you can see the anterior wall and posterior wall are converging here in a V-shaped manner. If you see in a CT scan in this horizontal section, maxillary sinus, just behind the maxillary sinus you are seeing the arrow is showing, that is the pterygopalatine fossa there, that is the sagittal section. This is one more horizontal section just medial to inferotemporal fossa indicated by the arrow, and this is coronal section showing the pterygopalatine fossa lateral to nasal cavity, and one more sagittal section here just behind the maxillary sinus. You can see the anterior and posterior wall are converging like a V there. And now here we will see the boundaries of left pterygopalatine fossa. First we will take out the mandible and zygomatic arch. Mandible is the lateral boundary of inferotemporal fossa. So if you want to reach pterygopalatine fossa, you have to go through inferotemporal fossa here. You can see the bones, as we have already discussed, it lies between the neurocranium and splanchno-cranium. You can see there it is a very tiny space, inverted teardrop shape or inverted pyramid shape, that is the maxilla forming the anterior wall. You can see there, and posteriorly you can see the root of pterygoid plate, and above the greater wing of sphenoid, and medially you can see the palatine bone there separating it from the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. You can see it is showing a foramina there, that is spinopalatine foramina, which communicates the pterygopalatine fossa with the nasal cavity. And if you see here, if you isolate this fossa, what are the boundaries? So above and behind it is formed by sphenoid, pterygoid plate of sphenoid and the greater wing of sphenoid. Anteriorly you are seeing maxilla, root of pterygoid plate, medially palatine bone. Laterally it is open into inferotemporal fossa by a fissure. pterygomaxillary fissure where pterygoid and maxilla bone meet, and you can see the roof is formed by greater ring of sphenoid there, containing the foramina rotundum and this pterygoid canal that we'll discuss. And you can see here the maxilla. So it is just behind the maxillary sinus. So we can go through the sinus to reach this area, that is the medial wall, palatine bone, anterior wall, posterior and superior wall. Inferior wall is very narrow, formed by converging anterior and posterior walls. So if you disarticulate them, you can see how it is. You can see here how it is, where it is, inverted pyramid shaped fossa, very tiny fossa, but it acts as a chamber for distribution of maxillary nerve and maxillary artery and pterygopalatine ganglion. That is the importance here. You can say anteriorly maxilla, and medially we are seeing the palatine bone with the sphenopalatine foramina. It is between the sphenoid and palatine bone. That is the root of pterygoid plate. Yes, that is the root there, you can appreciate. So it is when you open the book, the back of the book, the margin, yeah, that is like that. So from there you will get the lateral and medial pterygoid plates. Above you are seeing the greater ring of sphenoid, that is the palatine bone. So these are the three main bones, maxilla, palatine and sphenoid. But it lies between the pterygoid and palatine bone. In majority it is called as pterygopalatine. That is the fossa there in CT scan. Coming to the contents, as I already told you, it acts as a area of distribution of all these contents: maxillary nerve, maxillary artery, third part of maxillary artery, nerve of pterygoid canal, pterygopalatine ganglion and venous structure. You can see here in this picture, that is maxillary nerve, pterygopalatine ganglion, maxillary artery. Third part will enter here and gives 6 branches. Maxillary nerve will give branches to the sinus and nose, palate there, and this is what you see, the contents. You can see third part of maxillary artery giving 6 branches that we have discussed there, and this is the area where it enters here by pterygomaxillary fissure. This is the maxillary nerve with the branches of pterygopalatine ganglion, and they exit this fossa by numerous foraminas. There are numerous communications to this very small fossa. That's why it is clinically significant. You can see the third part of maxillary artery there. It is entering in the area between the maxilla and pterygoid plate there, giving the branches. You can see that is sphenopalatine artery passing through sphenopalatine foramen and reaching the lateral wall of the nasal cavity, supplying the lateral wall of the nose. That is infraorbital artery going to the lower part of the orbit and comes out of the orbit in the face by infraorbital foramina. And you can see the other branches of maxillary artery like buccal artery, second part. That is not a point of discussion here. We are concentrating on third part, that we will see later. So this is the maxillary artery. Which part of the maxillary artery? Third part of the maxillary artery. And sphenopalatine artery is the terminal branch of the maxillary artery, and that is there pterygopalatine ganglion, largest of the 4 parasympathetic ganglion of head and neck. Among ciliary, otic, submandibular, it is largest ganglion, and it supplies the nasal mucosa, palatine mucosa and pharyngeal mucosa. So it is also called as hay fever ganglion. In case of hay fever, you will see secretions and redness in those areas or in these mucosa, nasal mucosa, palatine mucosa, orbital mucosa and pharyngeal mucosa. That is maxillary nerve, leaving the middle cranial fossa via foramina rotundum and entering into the pterygopalatine fossa. It is also a very important content. It carries the postganglionic branches of pterygopalatine ganglion through its branches, zygomatic, infraorbital and palatine branches of maxillary nerve. This pterygopalatine ganglion sends its postganglionic fibers, and you can see how it is closely related to the nose, and that is the nasal septum, vomer bone there. So coming to the communications, so there are total 7 communications that is the posterior wall what you are seeing, anterior wall, this is medial wall, and this is lateral wall is open. So you are seeing the right pterygopalatine fossa from above, anterior wall, medial wall, posterior wall. In the posterior wall you are seeing three openings: foramen rotundum, pterygoid canal, and pharyngeal branch in the peltovaginal canal. You can go from right to left here: peltovaginal canal, pterygoid canal, and foramen rotundum. In the medial wall, spinopelton foramina. Whereas in the floor, you will see greater and lesser pelton foraminas. Whereas in the anterior wall, some foraminas in the posterior surface of the body of the maxilla. So there are 7 foramina and fissure provide the communication of the surrounding areas to the pterygopalatine fossa. Foramen rotundum and pterygoid canal communicate the middle canal fossa with the pterygopalatine fossa. Pelton vaginal canal opens into the nasopharynx there. You can see the 2 major openings in the posterior wall: pterygoid canal and foramen rotundum. Foramen rotundum transmits maxillary nerve. Pterygoid canal transmits artery of pterygoid canal and nerve of pterygoid canal. In the medial wall, spinopelton foramina. Anterosuperiorly, you will see inferior orbital fissure, and in the lower part, palatine communication, palatine canal. So it communicates the pterygopalatine fossa with the roof of the oral cavity. Spinopelton foramina communicates it with the lateral wall of the nose or nasal cavity. Spinopelton artery traverse there. You can see here, you are seeing the openings here in the posterior wall, 3 openings: foramen rotundum, Vidian canal, or pharyngeal, or you can say artery, this pterygoid canal, and anterosuperiorly inferior orbital fissure, laterally pterygomaxillary fissure into inferotemporal fossa. So the contents of inferotemporal fossa reach there via pterygomaxillary fissure, and inferior orbital fissure anterosuperiorly to this fossa. You can see 3 openings there. From lateral to medial, you can see foramen rotundum, pterygoid canal affecting this sphenoid bone, greater ring of sphenoid, and floor, pelton canal, roof, inferior orbital fissure, medial wall, spinopelton foramina. You can see inferior orbital fissure there. So floor, pelton, greater and lesser pelton canals, and lateral pterygomaxillary fissure. So these are the things you are seeing there. So pharyngeal canal is also called as peltovaginal canal. So you can see 2 openings in a sphenoid bone forming the roof or the posterior wall, because sphenoid bone, it forms both the roof and the posterior wall of the pterygopalatine fossa. You can see here in the disarticulated skull, you can see that is foramen rotundum there, that is spinopelton foramina, foramen rotundum, pterygoid canal. Or if you come this way here, we will articulate again and see from the roof side. Yeah, that is the foramen rotundum, and just medial and below to it, inframedial, you will see pharyngeal canal, and inframedial to that you will see peltovaginal canal. From lateral to medial, foramen rotundum, pterygoid canal, and peltovaginal canal. In the medial wall, spinopelton foramina, and here anterosuperiorly, if you turn this, that is the inferior orbital fissure. So it communicates the orbit via this fissure, and this is pterygomaxillary fissure, foramen rotundum, pterygoid canal, and palatinovaginal canal, also called as pharyngeal canal, spinopelton foramen. You can see medial wall between the sphenoid and pelton bone. That's what is called as spinopelton foramen. So you can see that is inferior orbital fissure, and if you turn in the floor, you will see 2. In the floor, you will see 2 openings there, greater and lesser pelton foramen or canal. So 2 in the floor, 3 in the posterior wall, 1 in the medial wall, and 1 in the anterosuperior wall, and 1 laterally. So totally 7 communications. So 2 in the roof communicate with the middle canal fossa, 1 in the medial wall communicate with the nasal cavity, 1 in the anterosuperior wall communicate with the orbit, 1 below communicate with the oral cavity, that is peltovaginal canal there. So foramen rotundum and pterygoid canal affect the posterior wall here, and you can see the list of all the walls and foramina and structure passing through there. Anterior wall I told you, anterosuperiorly infraorbital fissure, posteriorly pterygoid canal, foramen rotundum and palatinovaginal canal, medial wall spinopalatine foramina, lateral wall pterygomaxillary fissure, and posterior wall, that is here, foramen rotundum. Inferiorly, two canals, greater and lesser palatine canals, transmitting the same named nerves and vessels. These are all openings we have discussed in the osteology. Please go and refer that so that you can integrate the topic here and understand better. So remember, so it is a very tiny space having so many communications and acting as a distribution chamber for maxillary nerve, maxillary artery and pterygopalatine ganglion. That's why it is very significant clinically, because it has all these neurovascular bundles there. You can see we are still with the foramen rotundum. You can see maxillary nerve there. It is the division of the trigeminal nerve. Pterygoid canal, it lies in the anterior wall of foramen lacerum. Foramen lacerum is closed inferiorly by the cartilage plate. You can see the sky blue structure there, that is cartilage, and above that is internal carotid artery. You can see, and the cartilage fills the space. So foramen lacerum doesn't transmit anything vertically. That's why it's also called as lazy foramina. And this opens into middle cranial fossa. And which structure pass through there? Greater petrosal nerve joining with the deep petrosal, forming nerve of pterygoid canal, that is the artery of pterygoid canal, branch of third part of maxillary artery. You can see how it is entering there for the distribution. And you can see nerve of pterygoid canal. It is very important nerve. It is in the pathway of this pterygopalatine ganglion, because it carries the preganglionic parasympathetic fibers from the facial nerve from the genu, and then it joins with the deep petrosal nerve derived from the sympathetic plexus around internal carotid artery. They both join and form nerve of pterygoid canal and carries the preganglionic sympathetic fibers to pterygopalatine ganglion. Postganglionic is by maxillary nerve, that is, you can see greater petrosal nerve coming from the genu there, and this is deep petrosal nerve coming from the plexus around the internal carotid artery. They both join there and enter in the pterygopalatine fossa via this pterygoid canal. You can see there, carrying the preganglionic parasympathetic fibers and sympathetic fibers to the pterygopalatine ganglion. It is the one of the largest of the 4 sympathetic ganglion, and preganglionic parasympathetic fibers are derived from facial nerve. Just now we have seen, carried by the greater petrosal nerve, and when greater petrosal nerve joins the deep petrosal derived from the internal carotid plexus, it forms nerve of pterygoid canal, whereas the sensory and postganglionic fibers are carried by maxillary nerve and use 4 important branches. You can remember orbital, palatine, pharyngeal and nasal, and other fibers pass along the branches of maxillary nerve. So maxillary nerve is a sensory nerve, and it also carries the postganglionic fibers of this pterygopalatine ganglion. Preganglionic fibers from nerve of pterygoid canal, before that greater petrosal, before it joining this deep petrosal nerve. You can see there the pterygopalatine ganglion. It is distributed along the branches, zip branches of maxillary nerve, zip, ZIP, zygomatic, infraorbital and posterior superior alveolar nerves of maxillary nerve. Remember the 3 branches of maxillary nerve within the pterygopalatine fossa, zip. You can see there in this diagram, that is pterygopalatine ganglion, how it is getting the preganglionic fibers. You can see nerve of pterygoid canal there, and these are the palatine branches, nasal branches, and you can see pharyngeal branches. So you can remember as OPPN, short form of opposition, orbital, palatine, pharyngeal and nasal branches. You can see palatine branches pass via greater palatine and lesser palatine nerve, orbital branch through the infraorbital nerve, pharyngeal branch through this palatinovaginal canal, nasal branch via those nasal branches. You can see that is pterygomaxillary fissure. You are seeing pterygopalatine ganglion. So coming to the orbital branches, they pass through infraorbital fissure. They supply this orbit and lacrimal gland and secretomotor fibers to the lacrimal gland, and you can see here pharyngeal nerve. It passes posteriorly behind the ganglion and pass via palatinovaginal canal and supplies the nasopharynx. Whereas greater and lesser palatine nerves, they come via this canal in the floor that you have seen and supply the nose and also the soft palate and hard palate. You can see how they distribute there. You can see now. You can see the canal. They are coming to the canal and they terminate with the nasopalatine nerve. So greater palatine nerves, they supply hard palate, gingiva and mucosa of the hard palate and soft palate till the incisor teeth, and they join with the nasopalatine nerves, so lateral of the nasal cavity. So palatine nerves not only supply the palate or the roof of the oral cavity, also supplies the lateral wall of the nose. That will see in the distribution of nerve supply of lateral of nose. It is divided into 4 quadrants, and you can see there how it is passing to that incisive fossa there. So nasal nerves, they are 7 in number. The short spinopalatine and long spinopalatine. You can see short spinopalatine, they supply the posterior superior quadrant there, supplying the posterior superior quadrant of the lateral of nose, whereas long spinopalatine will join it with it by supplying the posterior inferior quadrant and joins with the greater palatine nerves. So you can see they passed via the spinopalatine foramina and supply mucosa, gingiva and glands, palatine glands. They are supplied by the pterygopalatine ganglion. So you can see the 4 set of branches: orbital, pharyngeal, palatine and nasal branches, OPPN branches of the pterygopalatine ganglion. Coming to the maxillary nerve, the main sensory nerve carrying the postganglionic fibers from this ganglion for distribution. If you see here, it is coming from the, you can see the pterygopalatine ganglion there. This is the maxillary nerve coming from the trigeminal ganglion in the Meckel's cave. That is the, it communicates with the ganglion via 2 rootlets, and you can see here the preganglionic fibers, that is the sympathetic plexus around the internal carotid artery. You can see there how it is wrapping around the internal carotid artery, passing through carotid canal and entering the carotid canal and coming to the posterior wall of the foramen lacerum, and that is the nerve of tracheic canal formed after the joining of deep petrosal plus greater petrosal nerve. They carry the fibers to this pterygopalatine ganglion. You can see pterygopalatine ganglion, largest ganglion in a tiny space. You can see the distribution there. Its branches. What are the 4 sets of branches? Orbital, palatine, pharyngeal and nasal. So you can see the pterygopalatine ganglion there. Anterior is giving the orbital branches, medially pharyngeal, below palatine, medially pharyngeal and nasal branches, below palatine branches, and you can see that is the internal carotid plexus forming the deep petrosal nerve, joins and forms nerve of pterygoid canal, also called as Ovidian nerve. So maxillary nerve is purely sensory, originates from the trigeminal ganglion in the Meckel's cave, enters the fossa via foramen rotundum and gives meningeal branches before entering, and within the fossa it will give 2 ganglionic branches and 3 distributing branches, that is ZIP, zygomatic, posterior superior alveolar and infraorbital nerve. Remember as ZIP, ZIP. So you can see there the branches. One is passing along the zygomatic arch, zygomatic branch, one is passing in the orbit, infraorbital nerve, one is passing along the superior jaw, that is posterior superior alveolar. You can see now that is a branch, zygomatic branch. Again this is infraorbital, posterior superior alveolar, forming the superior dental plexus, supplying the upper jaw, You can see zygomatic is dividing into two branches there, zygomatic of facial and zygomatico-temporal, whereas this one is infraorbital there, coming out in the face, that is the posterior superior alveolar, supplying that. Again in the right maxillary nerve you can see the trigeminal ganglion is divided into ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular. Maxillary will enter the fossa via foramen rotundum, gives the two branches, ganglionic branches there you can see, and gives the three distributing branches, that is zygomatic, infraorbital, posterior superior alveolar. You can see again the pterygoid canal, nerve of pterygoid canal, how it is carrying the fibers there. Coming to zygomatic nerve, it enters the orbit through inferior orbital fissure, divides into zygomatico-temporal and facial, and zygomatico-temporal branch is there carrying the fibers, post-ganglionic sequomotor fibers to the lacrimal gland. Zygomatico-facial, it opens onto the face, supply the skin. So you can see lacrimal gland is there, but zygomatico-temporal, the post-ganglionic parasympathetic sequomotor fibers, and that is the posterior superior alveolar nerve. You can see it is entering in the back of the body of the maxilla, and it enters between the last molar tooth and all. And infraorbital nerve, it is a continuation of maxillary nerve. First it enters the infraorbital fissure, then infraorbital canal, then infraorbital foramen. It opens into the space. So infraorbital fissure or groove, then canal, then foramen. So in the canal it will give middle and anterior superior alveolar nerves. You can see that is the anterior superior alveolar nerve supplying the maxillary sinus, middle superior alveolar nerve, that is there. You can see the canal, that is fissure, canal, foramen, and on the face it will give terminal branches, nasal, palpebral and labial branches, and this forms superior alveolar plexus. Middle also supplies the maxillary sinus, and anterior give a nasal branch, and it comes in the face via infraorbital foramina, paramedian foramina. Coming to the maxillary artery, which part of the maxillary artery we see here? Third part. So it lies anterior to the pterygopalatine ganglion, that we have already seen. It supplies the nasal cavity, oral cavity and the teeth, sinuses, oropharynx and floor of the orbit. It gives 6 branches, big pass, that we have already discussed. PIG, PAS, posterior patellar, infraorbital, greater palatine, pharyngeal, artery of pterygoid canal and spina palatine. You can see PIG. These all branches here. Then the pharyngeal artery passing to the nasopharynx via pharyngeal canal or palatinovaginal canal, and then you can see the artery of pterygoid canal. It also goes to the pharynx there via this one, and that is spinopalatine artery. And venous drainage, the veins of the fossa will communicate with the pterygoid venous plexus. And how to approach pterygopalatine fossa? 3 approaches: transantral, transnasal and transpalatal. And this is site of maxillary nerve block by inserting the needle 45 degrees superiorly medially along the pterygoid plate until pterygopalatine fossa is reached, like this, and then the maxillary nerve is anesthetized. Why you need this maxillary nerve block? That in case of surgeries and maxillary artery ligation, in case of epistaxis, angiofibroma and telangiectasias, we will ligate the this maxillary artery, and this juvenile nasopharyngeal angiofibroma spreads from fossa to the infratemporal fossa via trachomaxillary fissure, and they quickly spread into parapharyngeal carotal space. Imaging is the most important sign in the imaging is bowing of the wall there, and Vidian neurectomy. It is indicated in case of vasomotor rhinitis, crocodile tears, because it carries the sequomotor fibers. That's about it. Thank you. Have a great day.